ಬಂದಿದೆ ಬಂದಿದೆ ಹಿರಿಯರ ವಾಣಿ, ಹಿರಿಯರೇ ಇತರ ರಾಜ ರಾಣಿ, ಹತ್ತೋಣ ನಾವು ಅವರ ನೆನಪಿನ ದೋಣಿ, ಕೇಳುತ್ತಾ ಖುಷಿ ಪಡೋಣ ಹಿರಿಯರ ವಾಣಿ, ಕೇಳ್ತಾನೆ ಖುಷಿ ಪಡೋಣ ಹಿರಿಯರ ವಾಣಿ, ಕೇಳ್ತಾನೆ ಖುಷಿ ಪಡೋಣ ಹಿರಿಯರ ವಾಣಿ. ಇದು ಹಿರಿಯರ ಕತೆ ಹಿರಿಯರ ಜೊತೆ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಹಿರಿಯರ ವಾಣಿಯಲ್ಲಿ. ಕೇಳ್ತಾನೆ ಇರಿ, ಖುಷಿಯಾಗಿರಿ.
Hello listeners, this is your RJ Trishla and I welcome you all to Anubhav, a joint project of National Institute of Social Defense, Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, Government of India and Media for Community Foundation, implemented by Nightingales Medical Trust. Project conceived by Dr. R. Sridhar, Project Investigator Alok Verma, Coordinators Pooja Muruda, Sai Sudha and Kaushalya. Government of India has initiated elderly toll-free number 14567. Elders or anyone on behalf of elders can call between morning 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. for any questions, queries and support to elderly.
So many bright, energetic faces. This is normally the time that, I start winding down a bit because I've just finished my show. I've done like 5 hours, 7 to 12. I get up very early in the morning. But I just want to check a couple of things. One, can all of you hear me well enough? Is there a break in the audio? Is it fine?
It is fine. Yes.
Awesome. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask all of you to just close your eyes for a moment and follow the instructions in your head. I'm going to give you some instructions. I'd like you to just follow them and visualize them. All right? So can I have everybody just close your eyes for a moment? Okay. Imagine that you are at home. You've just made yourself your favorite cup of beverage. It's either a juice or something hot that you like to drink. You've taken that, gone to your favorite spot in your home. You're sitting down there, drinking the beverage. The windows are open, there's a light breeze, and your curtains are blowing gently in the wind. You pick up your favorite book to read. So you're sipping on your beverage, you're reading your favorite book, and there's a light breeze coming in and your curtains are swaying. While you're involved in this entire activity, you suddenly hear a loud crash in the balcony. So you run there to see what's happening, and you see that an alien spaceship has landed in your balcony. The spaceship door opens, 2 aliens come out, and they pick you up. They're going to take you into their spaceship and fly away. You're trying to cry out for help, but there is no voice coming out because they've paralyzed you. And then you close your eyes and scream to your favorite superhero to come and save you. They've taken you into the spaceship, and just as the door is closing, your superhero comes there, fights the aliens, and then saves you, destroys the spacecraft, and puts you back into where you were, and life goes back to being normal. Okay, open your eyes now. Thank you. I would like for people to be unmuted for this bit because it's slightly interactive bit. So I'd like the host to just unmute everybody if possible.
Sure.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm just going to ask, let's say, Lalita, can you please unmute yourself? Lalita is not. So while Lalita unmutes,
Yeah.
Lalita. So what was the beverage that you took with yourself?
A cup of tea.
A cup of tea. Sumana, what was your beverage?
Buttermilk.
Buttermilk. Milind, what was your beverage?
The green tea.
Green tea. Selvakumar, what was your beverage?
Ginger coffee.
Arre, what a beautiful. Okay. Jairam, which room did you go to?
Huh?
Which room did you go to sit down?
No, I went to the balcony.
You went to the balcony. Srikanth, which room did you go to?
Pardon?
Which room did you go to, Srikanth?
Just think of my study room.
Study room. Okay. Ganesh, which room did you go to?
My drawing room.
Drawing room. Sunanda, which book were you reading?
I was reading one Kannada book.
Okay. Anuradha, which book were you reading? Anuradha?
Sorry, it is weekly magazine.
Weekly magazine. Okay. Prafulla, what was the color of your curtains?
It was light cream.
Light cream.
Beige color.
Beige. Okay. Vasanta, what was the color of your curtains?
Hello.
Satya, you have not unmuted. If you can unmute, I can ask you a question. What was the color of your curtains, Satya?
Brown.
Brown. Okay. Who else can I? Shanti, what did your aliens look like?
They look like usually what we see in the movies.
Okay. What color were they?
They were in gray and black.
Gray and black. Chitra, what did your aliens look like?
They had very big eyes, long ears, and a long tail.
Right. Nirmala, which superhero did you call out to?
I called out to my Hanumanji.
Hanumanji. Supriya, who did you call out to?
Bhagwan Mahavir.
Prafulla, who did you call out to?
I didn't call anybody, because of pandemic, I wanted to stay there only in the house.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much. What you noticed in this is that I give the same set of instructions to everybody, but everybody personalized it based on their experiences. Right? So for each person, that story became a personal experience, which is very different from someone else's. Someone had ginger coffee, someone had buttermilk, someone had tea, someone's curtains were yellow, someone was brown. The aliens looked different, the superhero was someone else. So this is what the power of radio is. It's called the theater of the mind, right? Now, a very good radio jockey, what a very good radio jockey is able to do is able to give you visual cues from which you are able to create visual imagery in your head, right? Now, for example, if you go and watch television, right? The images are already there. You really don't have to visualize or imagine anything, right? It becomes what the director is showing you. Very often, that's why when you've read a book and then you go watch the movie, you say, "Acha, movie was not that great. Yeah, the book was better." Why is that? Because in the book, you are imagining based on your experiences the words that are there. Whereas when someone makes the movie, they are showing you their version of the book. And very often your version of the book is different from their version of the book. And therefore, your imagination is different from their imagination. And you think that it's not like how I imagined it, man. Something was missing. It's the same thing with radio. If I use the right set of words, what happens is that it becomes a personal experience for everybody who is listening to the radio. I'm using the same set of words, but Lalita's story is different from Jairam's story, is different from Prafulla's story, is different from Milin's story, because you've imagined it differently, which is why we call radio as theater of the mind. So that is one part of it. Okay, using radio to create imagery and to engage people. So there are three things that radio does very, very well. it engages. So I'm able to engage you in conversation, engage you in the way I tell stories when I'm on air. It empowers you. So for example, if there is a night curfew that's announced today at 11 a.m. and the night curfew starts at 10 in the night, I give you that information. You might not have access to it, but when you're listening to the radio, I give you that information. And then based on that information, you can make certain decisions, right? So you can make decisions about whether you need to stock up at home, you need to do some other things. There are some things that you need to finish before 10 p.m. So it empowers you to make certain decisions in your life. It also educates you. So there's a bunch of things that we put out as content on air that probably you may not have heard of, and it gives you that perspective, gives you that point of view on basically things that are happening around in the world. How many of you actually have listened to the radio growing up? I think there'll be 100% hands up over here. Now, how many of you listen to the radio? Suddenly the numbers have dwindled, because currently there are so many ways to access music, right? There are so many different ways to access content that you want, that radio has now become that medium where you listen to only when you're in the car, probably, or when you're traveling, right? So that's what radio has become primarily now. I'm going to play a certain bit for you. I've not done this before, so I don't know whether it will actually play out. So let me just play it and see if you're able to hear it. Were you able to hear that? No, you were not. Okay, fine. All right. So I'd just like you to unmute once more, but I'll just say what that was. I'll just play. I'll do a version of it. So I'm just going to get off video for this. Were you able to hear that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody wants to tell me what that was?
Breathing
Kind of fast breathing.
Fast breathing. Okay. Now stop for a moment and say, what else could it be?
That you are moving in a vehicle.
Okay. Anything else?
Doing exercise.
After exercise, you're breathing fast. Yes.
You're imitating a dog panting.
Yeah.
Very good. Yes. A dog panting. What else?
Running fast.
Running fast. Yes. What happens after you bite into a chili? Yeah, you go like that.
Yeah.
Right. Now, it was just 3 sounds. But there are so many things that you can imagine from those 3 sounds.
Breathing problem.
Yes, correct. Breathing problem. So with just those 3 sounds, there are so many things that you can attribute to it, right? It's a dog who is panting after biting into a chili after running really fast. It could be all of these things together as well, right? And that is the power of sound. When you're born, the first thing you actually hear is sound. The first sense that gets activated is sound. More than eyesight, more than light, more than anything, as soon as you come out of the womb, the first thing is sound. Sound is the first sense that gets activated, and radio is all about sound. There are many ads like this. Okay, now for example, the reason I've been in radio for almost 20 years now. Okay, and the reason I love this medium so much is, one, it allows me to do this, talk to many people, and it also, I think Usha mentioned it when she started, is that pre-pandemic. Now we all describe our world as before pandemic and after pandemic, right? Before Corona and after Corona. So before Corona, there was there were many complaints of traffic jams, people stuck on the roads, and there used to be a sense of frustration and anger in the morning when you're trying to get somewhere and you're stuck in traffic. So one of the things that I used to do was to try and ensure that everything that I put out on air was positive, would bring a smile to people's faces. And that was my only objective. Every time I turned on the mic to speak, it's how can I make you smile? How can I make you feel lighter? And that was my focus entirely. My song also that I play on air is Jimmy Da Jimmy, in the jam with me, singing na 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 na, because we can na na na. So that's my jingle that I play on air, saying that, hey, no matter where you are in a jam, I'm with you. So we didn't say traffic jam in particular, we said jam. So it could be any kind of jam. In life also, you have multiple jams that you get stuck in. And I'm saying, hey, I'm here. If you want to reach out at any point of time, you can reach out to me. And I have conversations with people. And every time I have a conversation with someone on air who calls in, again, the focus is, can I end the conversation so that you at least chuckle or you smile or there's a laugh? Because when you have two people chuckling and smiling over something or laughing over something, very often everybody listening also feels that vibe, feels that, acha, this is something nice and light and fun that's happening. And they'll also smile unknowingly. So that smile will creep in unknowingly. So that's how I approach the content on my show. Many people ask me, hey, why don't you try television? Why don't you try? I think for me, I feel television is limited. I think, like I said, when television broadcasts to a whole set of people, and there is really no localization in that sense. Even if you look at your news channels, for example, if you look at a TV9 or a News 9 or a Sun TV, they're broadcasting for all of the state. It's either Tamil Nadu or Karnataka, right? Whereas when I broadcast, I'm broadcasting only for Bangalore. My reach does not go out of Bangalore. Very rarely does it go out of Bangalore. So I can deal with topics that are really Bangalore centric. I can put people on air who are doing great work only in Bangalore. The people who are doing this work in Bangalore may not be relevant in Mysore also, but in Bangalore, they're relevant. So it allows me to do that, which is why I just enjoy this radio medium so much. It's so local, and it's and I enjoy just being on air, coming up with content every day. And when you look, people ask me, how do you get your content, right? Content is everywhere. If for example you're on a smartphone, you probably get your news feed over there. You have access to all sorts of news. So if I take a piece of content and I take it on air, the chances are 95% of the people have already consumed that content in some form or the other. Either they've read it or they've heard it or someone has told them about it, right? So then my this thing is that there are two kinds of people who are listening to me at any given point of time. One is someone who has already heard the content. Two is someone who has never heard the content. Now, for the person who has not heard it before, I've already added value in their life by giving this out. But for someone who has heard the content, their question is, hey, this I already know, why you're telling me this? At that point, it then becomes this thing of the radio jockey to add their point of view. Okay. So, for example, I don't know whether you read this piece of news. This was a couple of years ago. I think the education minister in Rajasthan said that cows inhale and exhale oxygen. Okay. And I was shocked. I was like, I have to take this content on air. I have to say something, but what do I say? Right? Chances are many people have already heard this piece of content. So what I did with it was I said, so he's the education minister. He's saying, the education minister of all people is saying that cows inhale and exhale oxygen. What I'd like to do is I want to send him deep sea diving and put the cow as his oxygen cylinder at the back. So when the cow exhales, he's exhaling oxygen only. No, you take that oxygen and breathe. Then you will know whether the cow is actually exhaling oxygen. So that's how I put this content out on air, and I can see many people are smiling. So that was the attempt. So that's the attempt at any point of time with any piece of content, is to say that I think people already know this. What can I add to this to make people smile? Or I do something so nice with that people say, why didn't I think of that? Like, how does Jimmy think of this? So it leaves them with that. And that's the attempt every time with content. Now, before I go on, I just want to throw it open and see if there are any questions that anybody wants to ask me before I continue with whatever I had planned. So I guess you'll have to unmute, and the host must allow them to unmute. Someone has.
Hello, Jimmy. Why didn't you try to verify the content, verify what the Rajasthan minister said?
Yeah. So it was verified because it was in the newspaper. It was not digital content. Yeah, so that's actually a very good point. Saying, are you sure that this is verified? So yeah, we verify content before. We don't take, and we check with multiple sources before we put out a piece of content.
So that is true.
It is true, yeah.
Cows do breathe out oxygen.
No, they don't. The education minister said that the cows breathe out oxygen. The cows don't breathe out oxygen.
Doesn't mean that it is true. A lot of things are not true when it's put up in the.
So the education minister said it, but it's not true, which is why I was making fun of him.
Yeah.
By 7, you will have seen the paper and you will have seen the content and you make up your program, is it?
Yeah. So actually we work before the previous night itself. So we start looking for content about 6:37 in the evening, because a lot of the content that comes in the newspapers, the digital version of it is already out online. So those pieces of content we start gathering already at about 6:37 in the evening.
So by then, I feel that you are a storehouse of all the knowledge, because you have to go through so many things to get your content.
I'm not storehouse of all the knowledge. That will be a bit too much. But what I do realize is that I learn at least 2 or 3 new things every day because I'm searching for content.
Choose whatever.
Are you ever worried? Are your RJs ever worried that you may overstep the line in your jokes or poking fun or things like that?
Yes. So when we put things out, we word it very carefully, especially if we think that there might be some controversy. So first things first, as a policy, we don't touch politics and religion, because they are two hotbeds of
very sensitive.
So I can say something and it can be said with the best intent, but there will be a section who will get outraged because of it. Right. So as a policy on our content guidelines, we say we won't touch politics or religion.
You said, what is your name? Mirchi. You add mirchi and masala to everything. That's why you're called Mirchi.
Yeah, that's our brand name, Mirchi.
How do you select people when you talk to? How do you select people when you're talking to somebody?
Yes, Mr. Ramachandran, I'm radioactive. Shanti, so what we do is we ask people to message in, and then when they message in, based on the quality of their response, we call them back.
Okay, so you want to know the content of what they want to ask or discuss?
No. So it's not an open this thing that people message whatever they want. I will ask a question, I will put out a topic of discussion, and then people respond to that. Then based on the quality of their response, I call them back and put them on air. So for example, I'll give you something that I did very recently is, very often when you're pressing the button for a lift, you need to press it only once.
Yeah.
Right? But you'll find people pressing it twice, thrice, 4 times. What are the other things in life that you do that you know once is enough, but you still do it twice, thrice, and you go back and check? right?
Maybe ringing the doorbell.
Sorry?
Doorbell. Ringing the doorbell.
Ringing the doorbell, correct. Your geyser, you'll have turned it off.
Yeah.
But then you'll go back again to check whether the geyser is still being turned off. When you lock, yeah, gas, correct.
Gas.
Yeah, any electrical.
No,
iron
gas.
box.
Yeah. Cars, for example, you lock it and then you'll pull the handle to see whether it's locked or not.
Nowadays it is this one, just you can check it from far off distance also.
Yeah. But even then, like people still, after they've locked it, they'll pull the handle to see whether it's been locked or not.
Always.
Excuse me, I want to ask a question.
Yeah, Prabha.
Do you get any formal training to become RJ?
At this point, there are no real formal training institutions. So, but what we've realized is because of social media, because of people putting out content regularly, on creating content and putting content out on Instagram, on Facebook, they're putting out these videos. There are a lot more people now who are more aligned to delivering content and doing something with content. So there's a lot more people like that now than when I started. So there are no training courses as such to be an RJ.
Where do you get information? Do you have a standard people, or you have your own resource?
No, so our sources are what everybody's sources are, which is the newspaper, which is online, social media, digital. These are all, wherever there is content, we will be there sourcing it. We don't have our own source of content.
Okay. Does the channel have your back? If something goes wrong and you're sued, does the channel have your back?
More often than not, they do. Right, unless it is a violation of their guidelines. Okay. If it's a violation of the company's guidelines and that has resulted in you getting into trouble, then there is no leeway.
Okay, thank you.
Sense of humor is very important, no?
Sense of humor is important because I think that's that allows you to immediately break the ice with someone.
Your voice and how spontaneous you are in your way of talking.
Those are all things. So, like very for example, important. like for example, yeah. So the voice doesn't have to be a good voice; it has to be an interesting voice.
Interesting. That's it.
Yeah. What that means is that because I'm in the studio and I'm doing my show, nobody actually sees me doing my show, but can they visualize someone sitting in the studio and doing the show? Can I throw up imagery for you? Can I make you visualize things? Those are what makes an RJ interesting.
Anybody has imagined you as something else and contacted you?
Yeah. So many times. So, okay. How old do you think I am?
By your voice, you are very young.
35.
45.
42.
Okay.
40 to 45.
40.
Yeah. So 45 is the right answer. I'm 45. I started in the current role that I'm doing. I went on air 4 years ago. And because of the nature of my voice, so I was 41 at that time, people thought I was 28, 29 years old.
Yeah.
So, if your voice is thinner, they'll expect you to be thin and tall. So you have all of these things that happen as well all the time.
Yeah. But for a little gray showing up on your head, we all think you are only 25.
Thank you. It's a trick of the light. It's not a little gray. It's actually a lot of gray with a little black.
Sorted.
Correct.
With the radio, I mean, the tone of the voice.
Yeah.
No, I was reminded of a jockey in some American magazine I read. On April 1st, he wanted to play a April Fool's joke, and he said, "Men from Mars are landing. Men from Mars are landing," and it created such a havoc in New York, in entire America. It created such a havoc. So, sense of responsibility, even in humor. When you're trying practical humor, you got to do it with a great sense of responsibility.
True. So April 1st is a hotbed of activities and things, pranks that people do. Like, for example, one radio station did a movie audition. They called for movie auditions, saying that we're looking for people from Bangalore for this thing. It's by a big label and all of that. And they called for people to come to a particular place for the auditions, and they advertised this on the radio, except they never said it was the 1st of April. They kept saying Saturday. And then people landed up there, and it was a prank because it was the 1st of April. There was really no movie audition happening. So
Bakra. What
correct. Exactly.
You got to do it with great sense of responsibility.
Mimicry also you do, no? Sometimes mimicry.
No, there are people who do all sorts of things. So there are people who mimic voices. There are people who do that. I am not particularly talented in that area. So I don't do mimicry and all, but I do lend my voice for ads and other characters and stuff like that. So I'm actually an actor also. I have my own theater. Nice. So I have my own theater company. We are called Jugaad Co. My wife and I run that. So we do plays and stuff like that. So performance comes to me very, very naturally.
So are you a cartoonist?
Sorry?
Are you a cartoonist? Cartoons?
No. I studied, my schooling was in St. Germain's High School, and then my college was in Joseph's.
Okay. No. Are you on cartoons?
Oh, in cartoons. Sorry, I thought cartoon. No. I used to do some work for Disney many years ago, but that stopped. So I don't do that anymore.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
I think Ramachandran, you must be referring to H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds.
Yeah.
When that was played out in the radio, people really thought that this is going on, And
Yeah. I mean, that was one of the first radio plays to be done on radio. H.G. Wells. Yeah.
War of the Worlds.
Yeah, correct. It was one of the first times that a radio play was created for radio, with SFXs and all of that put together with voice actors and stuff. Many years ago this was. Yeah. Correct.
Will it be right to call you a radioactive guy?
Yeah, please.
Then everybody has to run away from you.
I'm radioactive when I add fluorescent colors to people's lives.
That's very nice. One second, what do you say about the senior citizens?
No, so we don't like create content for age groups. Our content is generic, and it is treated in such a way. Like, for example, just the way I'm talking to you right now is exactly the way I talk on the radio. And I think that is so we don't create specific programs we don't have a program for children. And just to give you a sense of the kind of thing that we do, our large part of our content is actually music. We play music. So for example, in an hour, about 30-40 minutes is only music. When the RJ speaks, it's probably for 5 or 6 minutes in the entire hour. Yeah. So when we are talking on air, we have to make it count. We are given that amount of time to make the point of whatever we are trying to make. So for example, when I stop the music and I talk, it's called a link. It's called a jock link or an RJ link, the content. And one of the guidelines that we all follow very strictly is that an RJ shouldn't speak for more than a minute and a half. So whatever I want to say, I have to be able to say within 90 seconds. And therefore, we create structures in the way we approach our content, right? So for example, something that I do is called the STOE, S-T-O-E. All right. So the S is the spike, which is I will. So for example, if I had Mamta Banerjee flagging off a train with a green flag, right? Or there was a film actor with her who took off her sweater and gave it to her to flag off the train. I would start by saying film actor takes her top off to flag train, right? And immediately you're saying, what did you just say? What's happening, right? And so that's called the spike, where I give you a certain spike to just grab your interest so that I can keep you to listen to the rest of what I'm saying. So from spike, I move to the topic, which is what is the headline? What is the thing that I'm actually saying? Then I have an observation. So for example, the example that I gave you of the cow is the observation. So it's an observation or a point of view. And the E is the exit. Like after I've done all of this, how can I exit smoothly? So these are the 4 things that I plan in any piece of content that I put out on air, so that I can ensure that 1.5 minute of talk time that I have every time I turn the mic on is as impactful as can be. Right. So when you say, when Sunanda, you said, is there a program as such? We are not such a talk heavy station. We're a largely music station with little pieces of content that keep coming up, and that content is varied. Yeah. So now, of course, there are so many streaming services and podcasts. So for example, if you're really looking for content for senior citizens, if you're looking for content that is just purely talk, there's an entire podcast universe out there where you can access this content. So my mother, for example, she's 63 and she listens to a lot of podcasts. She listens to a lot of audiobooks, and that's also because unfortunately she had a stroke when the first wave of COVID happened, and that compromised her vision. So now her entire content access is through the medium of sound only. So it's podcasts and audio dramas and voice notes and that kind of thing. And because of that, I've been exposed to a whole bunch of content that I would otherwise have not accessed, but I'm accessing because she needs to access it. So if you're looking for specific content, there is radio is probably not the best place to go to. Radio is the place to go to for just light entertainment. If you're looking for really specific content, there's a whole bunch. There's a large universe out there to get that kind of content. Also, in terms of content that is most relevant, that most people connect with, we call them the 4 C's, but we work with the 3 C's of content, which is cinema, cricket, and city. These 3 are the backbone of the content that we look for. These are the topics around which we look around content. Because people are interested about what's going to happen next. And if you do it well enough, if you do your crime podcast well enough, you leave them with enough hints to want more, then they keep coming back for more. So even as a brand right now, our focus is not only radio, but got a lot of content that we are creating in the audio space as well. And things have changed. Like when I started doing radio 20 years ago, radio was the only thing that was happening. Now, though, I cannot survive if I'm not on social media. Right? So if I'm not putting out content on Radio Mirchi anymore, we are Mirchi. The radio has been removed from our brand name completely. We are Mirchi because we are saying that we are creators on multiple platforms and not only radio. Yeah, I mean, that's more or less what I had to share with you. If you have any more questions to ask me, please ask before we wrap up.
Yeah. First of all, Jimmy, a big hi to you from Usha Auntie.
Hi, Auntie. How are you?
So the whole point is, from the beginning, some speakers gave me a lot of trouble. So I was able to hear you in bits and pieces, and it's been wonderful. Actually, your talk has been so, invigorating more than anything else.
Thank you.
In fact, I would love to hear you again properly on the YouTube channel.
Right.
So it was very nice to hear you all over again. And then whatever it is, I would like to, can you continue a little more? Because now I'm able to hear you.
So if anybody has any questions, you can ask me, and then from there I'll take off and see what else I can add.
No, generally these RJs finally end up as stand-up comedians. And why is that?
Okay. Actually, I've also thought about it, say, can I be a stand-up comedian? I actually started writing also, but I've written, I think, 5 drafts of the same 2-minute piece, but I've never performed it, never gone out and performed it. I think what has happened now is that the stand-up comic space has become so huge that you can now, at the end of the day, what are most of us looking for? Saying that I don't think I can be in the radio forever. My shelf life is only this much. After this, how else can I earn money? Right? I'll give you an example of someone who used to be an RJ. Have you heard of Shraddha? Ayo Shraddha?
Yeah, I stay in the same apartment.
Okay. So Shraddha, for example, used to be a radio jockey. Then she moved to another space. Then what she did is she started creating content on Instagram, and her videos started doing so well that right now she gets paid by brands to make videos for them on Instagram. Months ago, and I said, hey, Shraddha, we're looking for a programming head in our channel. Would you be interested? She's like, no, da, I don't want to work for anybody else. Da. I'm so peaceful now. I do 3 scripts a week. I earn my money. I'm happy. So I think what everybody's looking for is that, right? Saying that, can I work at my own pace? Can I still earn the kind of money that I need to survive and not really go through the grind every day? And stand-up comic actually is one of those spaces where you spend a lot of time writing, but you're doing it for yourself. You're not doing it for anybody else, right? So because there are so many more avenues now to earn money, I think that's what people are looking at. They're saying that, which are these avenues? And because as an RJ, you've got the gift of the gab. At least we hope you've got the gift of the gab. Talking comes very easily. Talking to people comes very easily, and that's what stand-up comedy also is. I mean, of course, the writing is a really large part of that. But once you've got the writing in place, then it's talking to an audience, performing for an audience.
Nowadays, there are so many stand-up comedians, including Shashi Tharoor, and I feel it is too many.
Okay, so that may be true, but I think that the market is not saturated yet.
Okay. Jimmy, my only handicap after all my friends have heard you talk, they expect me to, when I hold the mic, they will expect me to stop in 1.5 minutes. But I'm never known to stop. I'm never known to stop within an hour.
See, you did very well right now. Actually, you spoke for only 30 seconds. So
He doesn't believe in that. Ramachandra doesn't believe in 1 minute and half minute and all those things.
Yeah. No, so
Who is the
that's
role model?
no, so that's the challenge. That's the challenge for us also, right? It's saying that if I take a piece, I can take a piece of news and read out the entire piece. It'll take 4 minutes, 5 minutes. And that's the challenge. Can I do it in 1.5 minutes? Can I bring all of it down and tell you the most important parts of it in 1.5 minutes? So I don't know whether you've heard of this app called Blinkist.
What?
Blinkist.
Blinkist, yeah.
Blinkist. So what Blinkist does is that it takes books like 400, 500 page books and converts them to 15-minute pieces. So you can get what the book is trying to tell you in 15 minutes.
Wow.
That's what Shakespeare said. Brevity is the soul of wit.
Correct. It is the soul of it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But in some ways, the books that are meant to be enjoyed, every word and every sentence, and if you make it short, then that means having
that beauty will
fast
go.
food.
No, absolutely. That's the thing, right? This is a different generation of people. And I would like to believe that at some level I belong to this generation that wants to read books, like take a book and flip through it and read the entire book. But there is a different generation of people who want everything fast, right? So for them, this has been created.
They want everything in a nutshell so that they can
Yeah,
Fast,
absolutely.
like fast food.
Everything has to happen fast. Everything has to happen fast. And that's something that you notice as well, that at least my generation and yours, we know how to work hard to get someplace. We understand the amount of work that it needs, or the energy you need to invest to become successful and do something. But this generation of kids, for them everything has to happen quickly.
Yeah.
And everything has to happen quickly. And if it doesn't happen quickly, they believe they're a failure.
Yeah.
And
they get frustrated and
yeah. And that's exactly why, I mean, we're having so many mental health issues. We're having so many of these things as well. It's a function of all of this playing out.
Contentment has gone.
The thing is, contentment has been given so quickly that contentment has now you've confused contentment for it to be really quick. You don't enjoy the process of doing something for a longer period of time to be able to achieve that contentment.
That's right.
Yeah.
The taste also has changed now.
Inspiring.
Yeah.
Now they have no time for anything. They're rushing, mad rush.
Yeah, race against the
But they
time.
also feel they're entitled for everything.
Okay, this is now quickly turning into a diss. Like we're just backing up.
Old versus young.
Yeah, versus young. That's correct.
Jimmy, how does it feel talking to an online audience when most of the time you're into my? How does it feel?
Voice broke over there. Fully breaking.
Yeah.
What is the total time of your work, Jimmy, any day?
So it is, I normally come in by about 6:45. My show, I'm done by about 11:30. So that's about 5 hours of proper studio work. And then after that, I sit down to then say, okay, what am I going to do on my social media? So on my Instagram. And just to give you a sense of it, when I joined radio 4 years ago, as in when I was doing this role, I've been in radio for 20 years. 75% of I was evaluated was on my radio work. 25% was miscellaneous other things that we was evaluated on when we did our appraisal at the end of the year. Now, just to give you a sense, 60% is how I have done on digital.
In what way this is?
Oh, okay.
And 60% of my appraisal is now, what is your progress on digital? 40% is radio. So very clearly the shift has happened in the last few years, saying that our focus is digital because that's where everybody is. Everybody is consuming content on the digital medium. Radio will continue, but focus on digital. So after I've done my radio show, then I sit down and do a script or something saying, okay, what's my content going to be on digital for today?
I'm sure you have good critics at home, your own
Sorry?
kids and all.
I
You
have
must be having good critics at home, your kids.
I have a daughter who's 8 years old. She's not reached critic stage yet, but she still has a point of view.
That's nice.